Well, hello everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on discovering how American Tape and Label uses Siteline to transform self-service. My name is Dave Weston, and I'm the Senior Marketing Manager here at Amtech, and I'll be your host for today's session. First, I just want to say that we're very excited to have you join us, and we know that your time is valuable, so we appreciate you being here. Today's session is going to be all about how one of our customers, American Tape and Label, is leveraging Siteline to streamline customer interactions and optimize product scheduling. But before we begin, I just want to go over a few housekeeping items. One, this session is being recorded, and we'll share this recording with you tomorrow once the webinar has wrapped up. You'll receive an email from this webinar platform, so you'll be able to watch it that way. Also, we want this to be as interactive as possible. So if you have any questions, please enter them into the questions panel here in this webinar platform. You can enter your questions at any time, and we'll try to address them as soon as possible, or as many as possible towards the end of this session. And then lastly, if you're experiencing any technical issues, please try to refresh your browser or reconnect with the webinar. And if you're still having any issues after that, please use the questions panel that I mentioned. You can find it in the upper right-hand corner of this webinar platform. You'll see a little icon with a little chat with a question mark in the middle. So if you just click that, you'll be able to enter your questions. But first off, we wanted to just hear from you real quick. We wanted to hear what it was that motivated you to join today's webinar. So I'm just going to enter a quick poll question. And if you could just take a moment to answer this really quick, I'll share the results with everyone shortly after. So if you can just take a few seconds to answer this question, we'll get this rolling. All right, I'll just give a few more seconds just for those who haven't answered just yet. All right, awesome. Let's check out the results. All right, so it looks like the majority of people came here to understand the value of Siteline for label tracks, and then some others also wanted to learn how American Tape and Label is leveraging Siteline, as well as understand the value of Siteline with label tracks. So thank you so much for that. So let's hop into the good stuff here. I'd like to introduce our resident expert, Joe Teisel. He is our solutions engineer here at Amtech, and Joe has been with the company for several years, and he is extremely knowledgeable about our product's capabilities. And Joe's going to be your MC for the session, and he's going to walk you through a discussion with our customer guest speaker from American Tape and Label. So without further ado, Joe, take it away.
Hey, Dave, thanks. I wanted to take a minute before we introduce our two guests here from American Tape and Label, just to give a little bit of an overview of what we want to accomplish in the session, and then a little bit about Amtech. So before we jump in, I just wanted to set an agenda. First thing we're going to try to accomplish, just tell you a little bit about Amtech, who we are, for those that don't know. Make sure that we talk about Siteline and give a little general overview of what the application is, what its purpose is, and then get into the good stuff. So we think the majority of it's going to be spent talking to our two guests and understanding how, specifically Amber from American Tape and Label is using the software. And then time permitting, as we get out of the Q&A section, what we'll attempt to do is do a bit of a live demonstration of the software. Obviously not going to be able to cover everything in maybe a 10 or 15 minute time frame, but we'll certainly cover some of the highlights, maybe wet your whistle for a full-blown demo personally for yourselves. And then we'll leave some time at the end so that the webinar community can send in some questions, and we'll try to answer those in real time as we go. So without further ado, Amtech's been around for well over 40 years in the packaging industry. We have about 700 customers globally, predominantly in North America, but definitely expanding out towards the east. Right now, we have about 1,250 plants globally running our software every single day. The stuff that really sticks out to me is 60,000 active daily users. So every morning when I come in and take a sip of my coffee, it's crazy to think about or know that there's 60,000 users using our software on a daily basis. We just got a stat that came across the desk this week, that there's roughly about 4,000 machines on our machine capture products as well. So 60,000 users, 4,000 machines constantly feeding data into the MTech system, along with 1,200 plants and 700 customers. All that's supported by about 150 people here at MTech Software. And in North America, at least, we service 7 out of the 10 largest packaging companies. So, we like to think we're large enough to service you, but small enough to know you. And we have growth potential in our future as we move on. To give you an idea about Siteline is what we're talking today, but it really is a labels ecosystem for us. I just wanted to give you a graphic here where kind of Siteline sits out here on the customer facing side, but that integrates directly with label tracks. And label tracks can certainly integrate with digital presses out there via that JDF or JMF format, and then automatic scheduling via batch, ultimately out to the factory floor. Layered on top with any third-party integrations that we have via our APIs, or ultimately maybe some data warehouse if we're in a multi-plant situation. But today is all about Siteline. So when people ask me what is Siteline, Siteline's really a lot. There's a lot going on, but I like to kind of break it down into 4 verticals. And the first is it's truly a customer portal. This is a way for kind of small or medium-sized companies to kind of instantly flip a switch and now have a modern, web portal that their customers can go to, that Amazon-like experience to be able to pick out their products, put them in a cart, and purchase those products all via self-service. For those larger accounts that have many hundreds of different orders that come through in a given shot, we certainly have some tool sets out there to be able to upload large quantity purchase orders via PDFs or via Excels so that we can automate some of that order entry process at that scale. We think this gives us an ability to really turn around a quote very, very quickly. Lots of pricing is going to be set up inside of Siteline, obviously controllable by you, the user, but the idea is to get an answer quickly to our customer if they're looking to purchase a product from us. And then lots of our customers are taking advantage of using Stripe as a secure online payment. So can we complete that whole cycle? It's one thing to have all the customers' products there. It's another thing to have the customer be able to pick and mess with their reorders as they go through. And yet it's another thing that you can add on there to be able to have them also pay for it there. And if we're not ready to take that step into kind of automatic payments via Stripe, you can also have purchase orders set up there as well. And I think the most key thing here is Siteline's a journey. We were just in the green room before this. Amber and I were having kind of a conversation about it. And, there's a lot in Siteline, a lot to implement, a lot of features to take advantage of. And how I would guide a customer through that is think about what's most important, focus on that, and we'll work our way through kind of the end state goal as we get there. And the idea is that you can make this thing configurable by your customer. Do you want them to be able to see quotes? Do you want them to be able to see estimates? Do you want them to be able to process payments in the system? You get to kind of control that at the customer level. So that's for the customer portal. As we kind of move into collaboration, this is something I'm passionate about. I think email is great. Microsoft Teams is great. Slack channels are great. All of those communication tools are excellent. However, they're not tied to actions. So when we talk about collaboration inside of Siteline, it's really about taking that type of communication between sales and customer service and maybe even artwork and proofing and bringing it all to an item level, right? Can I take that conversation and can I attach it to a specific item, driving that item through a process, ultimately getting to the order that we want to get to the customer? We think that if you really take Siteline seriously, really integrate it into your process, it's going to expedite that whole process. Everybody's going to have a step in the process, and Siteline will guide you through making sure those steps are followed. That brings us right to artwork proofing. We really think that if you don't have a streamlined process, Siteline's a way to get you streamlined on getting that artwork proofing going through. I love the audit history portion of it, right? Customer gets potentially a mistake and they're looking at it. Hey, this was supposed to be red and it's blue. And you can go all the way back through and go, yeah, you guys approved revision 7 that said that you wanted that color change in there. And that's the last revision that we have approved from you. Oh yeah, we did make a mistake, and you can adjust from there. having that detailed audit down to the user level, who touched it last, when did that communication happen, is vital when those type of situations come up. And then finally, on the sales support side, right, we got to give a little bit to our sales team, and we think Siteline does a lot of that. It's a simple place that a customer could go to get an estimate, or a salesperson could go to get an estimate if they're in front of a customer. It's an easy way to handle all of your quote management, your order backlog, potentially inventory levels, and ultimately, my favorite is open AR so that we can get paid a lot quicker. But without further ado, I'd like to get into why we all came here today. So with us on the call, we have Amber and Jack. Both work for American Tape and Label. Amber is the CFO, and Jack works directly with Siteline as our software tech. So I'm going to throw it over to them and say, welcome, Amber. Amber, maybe you can start off and just give us a little bit of an intro of American Tape, and the segment that you guys operate in.
Sure. Just wanted to say thanks for having us here today. We're super excited to share our experience and all of our ups and downs and experiences with Siteline. So we've been in business since 1972, and we're fourth generation run, and we're still going strong. So we wanted to be a part of this because we like helping other people as much as we like helping other people. We really do believe in this product, and it's done so much for our company that I really wanted to support Amtech in getting the word out there. I know a lot of people are probably sitting around asking the same questions, and if we could save time and give our industry a strong foothold in everything, that would be our goal in this today. And I want to thank Jack for all of his support and help through all of this, and he's a great member on the team, and we couldn't do it without him.
Yeah, I love it. Fourth generation, music to my ears. Amtech has been around for a while as well, alongside our customers that are growing. When I looked at your website as I was kind of doing research about your company and getting ready for this, the first thing that stuck out to me was 1972. And it was kind of a surreal moment. I'm like, all right, we're talking about electronic ordering through a web portal. And both of our companies were in the 70s, 80s, and 90s kind of founded. So I did a quick Google search, and in 1972, two other things were also founded, and that was the game Pong and the floppy disk. So we've come a long way, to automatic ordering through Siteline since 1972.
Yeah, I'm really
Well, it looks like we might have got a little froze from Amber. So we'll pause here for a second and see if maybe we can get Amber to reconnect here. And she froze in the most opportune position, so that's great.
Okay, what did you hear last?
Me speaking, and then you said one word and it cut out. So
okay,
and
well,
you're back
I was
with
going to
us.
say I'm grateful for being the four generations in there. We've come a long way. So I think some of the younger people in the company are grateful because we used to see how they were doing it. Writing it on the carbon copies and by hand and all the tickets, and then we're really grateful that all of our elders are on board with technology, and they're like, yeah, go for it. This is way cool. We wish we had this years ago. So that's kind of it's a really nice cycle.
Yeah, it's awesome stuff. So as we kind of dig into it, how important is customer and sales engagement to your business operation?
It's extremely important. We really do care about the experience that the customers are getting. And so we want to make it as easy for them to order as possible. And I think everybody knows we're up against challenges. Phones are ringing. Which one do you answer? Who goes first? What are we going to talk about here? And, I think at some point you want to be nice to them and have a really long conversation. But the reality is, half the people want a long conversation and some people don't want that long conversation. So it's a fine line between saying, hey, I want to call in an order, or gosh, I just wish I had a portal and I can get this done, and then talk whenever it's convenient and have that conversation. So I think that was one of the reasons we were thinking about this, because it reaches a whole gamut of individuals, and they can order however they want. So I guess that their thought process is extremely important to us and our client and what they want. We want to make sure we're doing what they want us to do.
Yeah, I mean, I really like that. Back in my plant days, I always felt like I was moving and I was active if I was on the phone calling the customer. And I think you said something there that stuck out was people don't necessarily want that nowadays. Everybody's busy, and we need a way to kind of work asynchronously. Not everybody wants to sit on a half hour or an hour meeting or a call. Sometimes they just want to reorder their stickers on their phone while they're at the kids' softball game. And
Exactly.
Siteline, I think, offers you the ability to be able to do something like that. Yeah, super, super, super important. So,
Yeah.
sticking with that tone, what do we think real-time access to, orders and customer data is? How does that play a role in kind of your customer services processes today?
Well, it's extremely, I think it's important because they can order when they want. So you just kind of said something like, oh, they're at the softball game or they're at the kids' events. And, I know the world has changed quite a bit to where people are remote and they're doing more activities and they're keeping busy. Well, they can just hop on their phones or online and throw in the order. And being able to see everything right there, and it's at the, on their fingertips. That's just right there. They have all of their products. They know what it is. There's visual pictures. It's not just reading numbers all the way across the board. So again, that reaches out to who's visual, who likes numbers. Like, hey, I like pictures. Jack loves numbers and codes, but I'm like, just what do we do? And so Siteline has both, and they can just order quickly. And we're just, I don't know. I like that they can order really fast. I think that's a key thing in the industry.
Yeah, I think
I
in
want to piggyback
manufacturing,
off
we
of
all
what
think, yeah, Jack.
just want to piggyback off of what Amber just said. Like you think of the time where like you don't have a salesperson in, and if you can only put in orders when you have a salesperson who has to manually put in that order, you're cutting out so many hours of the day. Where if a customer has a portal with all their products and they can place orders, that just adds so much time where you can get extra orders in your system.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing to kind of just hammer home that, being remote workers and kind of everybody's got everything on their plate today, I like to think of this as in manufacturing, we kind of think we're the center of the universe, like, American Tape and Label, we're the best thing out there and we're the center. But the reality is stickers or labels may only be a small component of what your end customer is using, and you might not be the first thing on their mind. So they've gotten all these other task accomplished, and then, oh, I forgot, I need to go order a sticker or a label. And now that we have a portal, if it's 6 o'clock, if it's 7 o'clock in the afternoon, they could jump on and still be able to go after that. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Before you guys actually implemented Siteline, what were some of the challenges you were facing in that realm with customer communication, maybe order tracking, or the stuff Jack was talking about, maybe that sales pipeline management?
Well, I think that's exactly what he was saying. Like, it's who's going to stay late, fill out the rest of the orders, or if you only have one person in, a couple people are out, how do they fill the orders? How do they put them in? And, there's a lot more things that Sightline solves with the ordering process. So we're talking about the ordering process, but it'll help solve a lot of other problems in regards to proofs and streamlining the communication and having collaborate right there. Because I don't know about anybody else on here, but it's like the olden days was write up the ticket, walk all the way to the art room, then walk all the way to the back. And, you don't think about that in a day. And so Sightline helps kind of solidify all of the communication process and get the orders in and take it to the next level and actually get the proofs going.
Yeah, that's the key part. Like during a demo, we're always trying to preach during the sales cycle. It's like, oh, this is going to streamline not only your external communications to your customer, but some of the things that go internally. And it's hard to kind of showcase that to a client. They've got to kind of live it and feel it. The way I kind of say it is like everybody's always asking the question, does this artwork, is it approved yet? Has it been approved? Does the customer know it needs to be approved? What revision are we on? What's the pricing for 5,000 versus 1,000? I think Sightline brings all of that information in a nice centralized area right at the customer or salesperson or customer service rep's fingertips so that we can all give the best answer to the customer in real time.
Yep, I agree.
So were there any kind of hiccups or inefficiencies, like slow artwork, maybe a delayed quote, were you guys in growth mode? What really prompted you guys to take and explore Sightline?
I think it was a lot of those things that you're talking about that I bet everyone else is experiencing, the delay in the proofing and what system do we have to make sure they proofed? And then the salesperson's like, oh, well, it was buried it was buried down low, but they need it now. So we have to rush it out. And I think those are a lot of the things that Siteline obviously helps solidify the whole process, like we just talked about. But I think taking it to the next level, people are excited to order through it, and it's just organized. There's just a really organized portal to see where everything is at. And they might forget to order something, but then once they're on that portal and they see all their history and they see everything right there in front of them, they might even add another one to it instead of calling back and being like, "Oh, but I forgot this. Can I add it on? Can I still get the 10,000 price? Come on." And it's like sitting at your shipping station and you're like,
Yeah,
okay.
right. Now I have to give in.
So I think it kind of helps trigger their buying process too, and helps them understand how they buy.
Yeah, when I try to position this, like everybody always wants to know the ROI. Certainly have tools that can give you numbers and all those other things. But I think some of the hard stuff is, do you guys want to grow your business? Everybody does. Good people are hard to find. Are you going to go out and find 10 more jacks? Probably unlikely, right? So I think Sightline's a way to take your current, employee base and 2 and 3x them, because they're
Yeah.
not having to touch every ticket, every customer. Some of that can be self-served by the customer. So you can kind of take your current staff and prepare yourself for maybe future growth without having to add, a bunch more salespeople or customer service side of it.
Right. Well, and even from my point of view, looking at all the finances and seeing where all the money's going, you want to get the most that you're going to buy for. So, how far can this dollar take this update, or what are we going to get? What are we going to gain if we purchase this? And I think the gains really outweighed even the costs on a lot of this, because there's just so many things that we couldn't even cover in this webinar that happen from a day-to-day basis that does take time, and it costs money, and the mistakes cost money. And I know everyone watching probably goes through a lot of those similar hiccups, and that's part of my passion for wanting to do this. Is I want the industry to stay high quality. I want it to be great. I want people to use labels and stickers, and there's plenty of business out there for all of us to get a piece of the pie. So I think that the experience and the reputation of the label industry is extremely important. And with Sightline, it's going to kind of help streamline that a little bit better. And we're going to be able to compete with some people out there that, maybe don't, it's pushing it in other directions. Not only that, but we can compete with some of the e-commerce sites too, like this in a small way.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
If I had to kind of hold you down and go, what was the feature that took you over the line and said, we're going with Sightline? Was it quotes? Was it the collaboration piece? Was it sales pipeline? What do you think was the number one thing that really drove you guys to making the decision to move to Sightline?
Sure. And, this is for everyone watching as well. We did shop it out. We didn't just jump in and go, all right, this is what we're doing. All right, hurry up. What's next? Okay. They approved it. Let's go. It was a really long thought out process. And, there were some bad times. And I think ultimately we wound up here, and, we're passionate enough to even come on this webinar. But I would say the best part, even though all of it's really nice, is the collaborate, and it keeps everything organized. And there were other, people who have products out there, but that collaborate, you just can't, they couldn't touch it, and it wasn't the same. And when you send out the proofs automatically, that's a big deal, because that is the difference between a lot of stress in the production area. That's the difference between staying late, coming in early, mistakes. And when collaborates right there, they know when it came in, they see the changes, and it's organized. I consider myself pretty organized in emails, but I'll still lose them, even though I have a folder for a folder for a folder. But when you have a client and you go in, they're like, I want to change whatever version hot sauce to mild sauce and put these 3 things on it. It's just right there in the portal. I just go right there. So
Yeah,
I think,
and I think even in our demo site, we have, a customer that has strawberry, vanilla, chocolate, and it's different ounces of product that gets sent out. So oftentimes you'll see an email come through and it's like, yeah, I want to change the artwork on the strawberry. It's like, on all of the strawberry, on just one version of it. Like now you're going back and forth in email, and it's 3, 4 emails later till you got the exact answer and product you're looking for. Siteline can help kind of drive people in that right direction.
right, exactly. Well, which even leads to the next thing. I know I said collaborate was the best, but I like the proofing portal too, because it breaks it down for them. And you have all types of buyers in the label industry. If they're experienced and they can understand layers and speak the printing terms. But if you have somebody new and they're really excited to order, but maybe they're like, well, just put that color up in the corner. You're like, you don't just
Left
like put it
corner, right corner.
everywhere. Like, what does that mean? And so you can actually help them understand the language by saying, hey, let's open up your proof real quick. Let's take a look at the layers, and then you could show me where you want this and make the edits right there. Just say, respond back, reject it, respond back with this, and it's all in there. And even from my standpoint, I can see when our artist touched it too. So there's no more like he said, she said, no, I did it, and then you run back to the client, no, no, and then you're wasting time when everything's right there with a date stamp.
Yeah,
I do
and
want to say something about
I,
the proofing
yeah,
portal.
Jack.
Yeah, I think it's shown in a really like digestible way that like someone who's not even like a graphic designer, like we work with a range of companies from like people with like multi-person design departments to like guys in their garage making a product. And even they're able to understand what's shown to them on that proofing portal. And yeah, someone like me who's not a graphic designer, like I can take a look at that and it displays it in a way where I know what it's saying to me. So I think that's really a good feature there.
Yeah,
Hmm.
really well said. I think one of the hardest parts, again, about explaining this to a new customer and talking about ROI is like, again, we'll do the math for you. We'll try to figure out hard dollars and cents that we're going to save. But, Amber and Jack were hitting on it there, is sometimes it's a soft ROI. It's not coming into work every day and feeling like my hair's on fire. I don't know what I'm doing. I have 5 things that are out there. Customers need to give me answers. I'm not sure where I'm at. I'm checking back through email. It's almost like just having a level of organization in your facility kind of calms everything down a little bit and lets us know what the tasks are. And I think Amber hit on it towards the end there, is I think it does add a little bit of accountability inside of the 4 walls, right? So I can see now through the audit trail who touched it and when. And if something was sitting there approved and we haven't moved to the next step, or a request came in and we haven't touched it for a couple of days, well, now I have some actual data I can go to my team with and go, guys, we got to do better here. So I think, while hard ROI, we certainly can try to get there. Some of the things are that we end up having to say in the sales cycle is, we believe that Siteline is going to at least save some of your core team 4 to 5 hours a week. And how much more effective could you be if you had an extra 4 hours at the end of the week, because Siteline helped automate a few processes for you.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. And it does eliminate a lot of frustration between employees, managers, customers, because like you said, everything's right there. And a lot of times, I don't think anybody's ever intentional on any of those actions either. Sometimes they do think they're fast and they're like, I sent that out super fast. It was like 5 hours and I'm wired, without a cup of coffee. So I'm like, that had to be like 30 seconds. They were expecting it by like now, so I think it helps establish standards from my perspective and not go overboard. And hopefully it doesn't make me look too bad, but everybody has that set standard and they can see what they're doing. And I think anytime anyone measures their own parameters and like metrics, they want to achieve something more the next time. So I oftentimes finding the artists competing with each other. They're like, I'm going to beat you. And I'm like, wait, don't make a mistake though. You guys like pay attention. So,
No, that's great. All right, so we're sunshine and roses. Sightline's the best. You guys love it. If we take kind of a track down into the real world and we talk about implementation, maybe you could just walk us a little bit through what did the real world implementation look like? Was it straightforward? How did it integrate with your current kind of data setup and label tracks? Was there any hiccups there? What does it look like to implement Sightline in the real world?
it was really easy. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. It was a little bit challenging, and I think that's important for everyone to know. Again, kind of one of the reasons I thought about, we wanted to do this was just make sure you do your checks before. You need to make sure you have the proper IT involved. Can the IT team handle it with the communication back with the Amtech team? Do you have enough space, size? There's a lot of things they'll go through, but I think if you check all of your boxes and you take your time with it, it goes a lot smoother in the end because you don't want to get 7 steps down the road and then you're like, oh, I didn't check box number 1 and you have to reset it. We had a couple of those moments. It was a little bit like, oops, we should have done this first. But it's okay. We worked through it and it was easily fixable. It was just time lost, so it was a little frustrating. But I definitely, I also think that the software is as much as you're going to use it. So it is as much as it's a great product. it's a lot on us on how to learn it. And I mean, as far as frustration, it's like learning something else, whether it's a different payroll system or, if it is Label Tracks itself or Amtech, the quoting software. It doesn't really matter what it is. You just have to take time and go through and dive into it. So it won't be easy, but once you spend some time on it, I think it's a lot more smooth. And I think the benefits outweigh the time it takes to learn it by far.
Yeah, I mean, I think the reality of life and business is nothing is a magic wand and everything's fixed, right? You said it best. We're only going to get out of this thing what we put into it. I mean, we heard a little bit from Jack. Jack is got Siteline under his umbrella as he's coming in there. So I think thinking about, okay, we've got this new tool. How do we unlock the features in this tool? And that might be having somebody own the product in your facility. Talking about, okay, we got all these fancy things that we can set up and present to our customers. Now we got to have a campaign and educate our customers that, hey, we have a new tool out here, and here's how you guys can leverage the tool to be better customers and better users. So there's certainly, effort on the client side, our client side, to be able to make sure that Sightline is going to be successful. And ultimately, you're only going
You
to get out
said
of what you
something
put in.
really important right there. Like, you do kind of need to get your customers excited about it as well. Because just like us feeling a little hesitant with change, and this company knows hesitation with change because we've been around, but you got to get excited about it and have a positive attitude. So you sell Sightline to everyone and they get excited about it from a client's perspective. And you could do that by showing off the features, but again, just taking time to understand the software yourself. Like, hey, you can impersonate them on there too. So you can understand what they're going through. And if they're confused, you can impersonate very easily and be like, oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, yeah, no, all your quotes are right here. Your prices are here. If you have a completely different product, give me 10 minutes and I'll get that in there for you.
That's something that I actually supposed to be the resident expert here, right? I didn't learn until recently, seeing it out in the wild, hearing a customer service rep chat with a customer's having an issue with completing their order, and we're able to jump in, impersonate them, see what's in their cart, get them all the way through the checkout, hand it back over to them, and boom, the customer can take over and finishing processing. It's just one thing I hadn't conceptualized or thought about as we went through that you called out as a great feature of the system.
Yeah.
So we get it implemented. It's sitting out there on the floor. Customers are beginning to use it. How was your internal team's response to it? Was it instant where customer service is like, this is great, it's easier, we learned it, we go forward, or was there some hiccups there?
We have a lot of great people working for us. So, I feel very fortunate that, we had everybody excited and the positive attitude was there. We talked about it for a while. We made them watch the demos. And then when it's a lot easier now that Jack's on board, so we can do some slower releases and they can get the reps with somebody there with them. Back before Jack got on the team, it was a little bit harder because people would call up randomly and be like, wait, I can't get the order all the way through. So it's like, hey, hang on. Let's learn it first. So we've made adjustments internally to try to make things smoother for both sales reps, customer service reps, customers, and production team and art. So, but I don't think it's bad once you just get in there and dive in and check it out.
So if we, I think everybody on the call is kind of waiting for this section of it, and obviously only what you feel comfortable with. But since you guys adopted Sightline, are there anything you could point to that was a measurable improvement, in productivity, customer satisfaction? Do you have any of those metrics to share?
We don't, like I said, some of those things that are different are almost, you can't even measure them because it's time in a day and there's no tangible number to put on it without me kind of just, in a way, throwing it out there, because everybody's business on this call is going to be so different, and what they are passionate for is going to be a little bit different, or what problem they have is going to be slightly different than ours. But I will say that our growth has been fortunately really good, and having to add without having to add 7 salespeople or things of that nature. So we have a great team. Everybody works really, really hard. I think it really helps us look modern, and people want to buy from companies that look up to date. Whether somebody else puts better labels out there or not, they just want to feel like they have something. So as far as tangible numbers, like I said, I just think we've grown without adding, 7 new customer service reps or a bunch of members. And I mean, we hope to do that. I hope we can talk, in the future and say, hey, actually, I lied last time and we added 7 new ones. But in theory, I think it's a lot better. It makes everything smoother. And I don't know if you can even measure customers that leave because it was just a hiccup in the system.
Yeah, I love your point, and you've said it a couple of times now, right? It's just time. It's calming everybody down, giving some people some time back, making things easier in the organization, and making it ultimately easier for our customers to order.
Yeah. Well, and I want the
So
labor industry to stay, high quality and have that you want to buy labels and you can adjust to the challenges online and all the e-commerce sites. So, I think it's a really smooth way to order.
yeah, I mean, you've been speaking passionately about the proof process and kind of the approval side of it. Maybe just dive a little bit deeper for us. Is there specific improvements to call out in expediting or in approvals?
You mean like for Amtech to improve on, or you mean for just the customers?
Yeah, I was saying via the customer portal, you were talking about a little bit here about how it's expedited your process internally and specifically with
Oh,
proof approvals.
that's what I was going to say because I was like, well, no, I think you guys are hit on a lot of the credentials that you or the things you need to order. So I don't have anything. I didn't come prepared for that yet because I think the adjustments, like I said, I just want to re-hit again on the collaborate and the organization of files and the ability to have them online ready to go. I just think if you're looking to invest in a software or in something that's going to help your company, I think this is a great way to go because it's solid. Like everybody's going to need a software to order. Everybody needs to look at a proof. I mean, I guess unless you don't proof, but I think we all know how that goes. Like, I mean, I do. So, having the ability to proof easily online, educate them, they're just a lot happier in general. So it solves, it's a multi-level problem that I do think it solves.
So if you take me maybe down the quoting process, how do you guys handle quoting and estimating inside of Siteline?
We do use that. So for some of our repeat customers, we'll put their all their orders on this portal and they'll have their prices right in there and they can see that. So yes, we have control of it in the back end. Don't get it confused with it's like automatically generating just different quotes. You still
Right.
have to put the information in the back end. But if they're going to go in and they have 7, whatever we were using salsa labels, and they want to add the same one and it's a rerun with a new edition, then they can also add like 20,000 and drop it down and they'll still have the pricing in there if you've quoted up to like 50,000 in the back end or whatever it is. I'm pretty sure my
Yeah,
numbers
one thing
didn't match there, but you know what I'm saying.
you had said one thing in our conversation before about, your end customer was using it for budgeting. And I was like, whoa, that's yes, it's something I'm going to kind of steal from you is this gives the customer the ability to kind of look at all of their previous orders, look at their current orders and kind of lay it around for them to budget out. What am I going to order from American Tape and Label? When is that stuff going to come in? So it was something that I really thought was important about the process.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you definitely, well, you can't, and that's another thing you really can't measure, right? Like if they're ordering more, we want our customers to do well. We just don't want people to order a bunch of labels and go out of business. It's not the way it works. And so if they can be smart in their own business, it's easy. We're helping them understand it. That's also time because I don't know if anybody's ever gotten this, but we have. They call in and they're like, "How many did I order last year? Can you tell me?" And I'm like, "Gosh, of every SKU, really?" But now it's all right there. So I'm like, oh yeah, no problem. Just log in and let's take a look and we can see what you're doing. And hopefully you
Yeah, I mean,
double.
recently I've been at a couple customers where I've seen kind of an apprehension to give kind of detailed price breaks at all the way up in extreme quantities. I can understand sometimes it takes a little extra to do that, but I think seeing it in Sightline and going, man, I know I want to order 5,000 right now, but if I ordered 7,000, I can get a 3% price break, and just having it in the customer's face right on the portal kind of makes that impulse buy. You know what? I'll take the
Yeah.
7,000. I'll go with it and I'll take the lower price and we get more business out of it.
It's funny you say that because just this morning, Jack and I were in a meeting with a couple other people, and we were in there, and he's set up a customer on Siteline in the back end, and that's what he was like. I'm just going to go all the way up to this, so then who knows? And then I'm not kidding, they really did order extra, and I was like, you should probably call them and see if they made a mistake for the first time, but I don't know,
That's a
it
great.
does
That's
happen,
great.
and I don't know if they
So
made a mistake yet. We still have to call them.
yeah, we'll just let it go and they can,
Yeah, it's just
they
that
ordered.
story. That's better than the story.
So as you guys take a look at the future, do you have something in your sights, maybe better for Jack? Like what's the next step for, American Tape and Labels and Siteline? Is there a feature you're looking towards? Is there another tighter integration with something? Is it just getting more customers on it?
A big one now is the secure online payments on there through Stripe. Still working on setting that up, but having it all in one shop where it's creating an order all the way up to completing the payment and cutting out like the invoicing process makes it a lot smoother. So that's one thing we're looking at implementing, and then getting it set up for all the different types of customers that we have. So like the normal customers, the brokers, and then also the end user of those brokers. So giving them a portal where they can order, their broker can be like, hey, I have a portal where all your products are, and you can order right in there. I think that's really nice to have that set up for a broker.
That's great. Do you guys have a feel or a thought about how many customers you think will adopt that Stripe payment versus still wanting a purchase order?
Hopefully all of them. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know.
That's
But,
that's the hopefully part.
yes, they ask. They have asked.
Great. All
But
right,
at
and
least
then
having that as
kind
an
of
option is, yeah, the more options, the better for getting payments.
yeah, the more ways we can make it easier for you to give us your money, the better we're all going to be.
Yeah.
So I guess in my final question, and maybe for the group and ultimately for us here at Amtech, if there were a couple of feature improvements or things that you would want to see, what can we do next to make Siteline better?
Do you want them to answer that, or is that for me, or?
For you or Jack.
I think I want to say you guys have done a really good job of thinking of all the types of things we go through in the industry for the labeling. Like, I know we were talking at kind of a deep level with the broker portal and how they see it, but you guys have even thought of that. Like, yes, they do have a broker. They have multiple people that can approve and a sequence. And I personally love the proof reminders. So you guys really did think about a lot of the different angles that we go through. So, I'm sure as time goes on and we change and stuff, maybe it would be a little bit more fun to have more ability to put different pictures on there, or maybe a little bit easier to upload some images that makes it look kind of neat. But you guys did a great job of making it look up to date too. Like the buttons don't look old school or anything like that. So I don't know if they're used to maybe the different portal and the quoting system, but I think Siteline looks a lot better, like
Yeah.
for the person's eye.
One thing on
Yeah, look,
the
I love it.
admin side. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, Jack. Absolutely.
Yeah, on the admin side, I really like reporting on anything we're using, getting a feel for like what the numbers mean. I would like to see a little bit more reporting for us seeing our like our best customers, customers that are falling off, customers that haven't ordered in X amount of time, like the number of open like artwork approvals that we have, something like that. I think would be really great for Sightline.
Yeah, it's good feedback and it's top, right? People are thinking about it right now internally here. Reporting's kind of at the top of our list to make it to the next roadmap that's coming out. We have an AVA package that sits over most of our products that can do some dashboarding and reporting. So, definitely in our sights for future feature enhancements for the Sightline product. Listen, Amber and Jack, you guys have been great. I appreciate kind of all your time. We have roughly 15 minutes left. What I was going to do now is do a little bit of a demonstration of Siteline, and then we'll let some people generate some questions, and then we'll come out of the demonstration of Siteline, and we'll go right into the user community questions. But Amber and Jack, really, really appreciate your time. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, no, thank you. I hope it helps everyone. We're always around if they have more questions.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. All right. So there it is, right? This is what a customer would see, or a customer service rep potentially for Siteline. And I think the first case is, and what I like to showcase to customers is, this is your ability to really put your customer in lights, showcase your customer and their products. As we kind of go through this little slide deck here, the first thing is they get branded, right? So Celestial Labels is at the top left, front and center. I think it shows that we value, American Tape and Label in this scenario values you as a customer, and we're able to put your logo up there that makes you feel good, create some stickiness between the two of us. I think even further than that, and Amber and Jack were kind of hitting to this, is they get to see their cool products, right here on the web portal. They're cool graphics, they're, in this case, we have 89 different custom labels that are sitting out there. So it's just an ability for the customer to see their particular products all in one dashboard and one portal. And as we were talking about through, simply come in here, how many do I want? Add it right over to the cart. We'll see this in real time when we go into the software and be able to build it up from there. And then my favorite part, I know Amber likes it being the CFO over there, the ability for the customer to self-serve, right? My favorite one, if we highlight over it, is pay your invoices. So this particular customer has 11 of them sitting out there that we'd like to pay. You'll see it in the demo as we get through it, but there's a nice click button that says pay now, and we'll take you right over to the payment processor if you have Stripe set up or invoicing as you go through. There's also that collaborate and purchase approvals as we go through there as well. And then not often used, right? But if you're of scale or you have a customer that just hands you a massive Excel sheet with a billion different things on it that you have to manually go through and order, there is the ability to upload those orders via PDF, and we'll use some optical character recognition, they call it OCR, to be able to read what's on the form and be able to book those orders for you. Or if it's just something like Excel, we'll take that information, transpose it into what we need and be able to get that imported in there as well. So just a couple different ways for those larger type customers that are coming through that have these massive orders to be able to get orders into the system quickly. And the artwork approval side, again, graphics there front and center, the ability to be able to look at it, the ability to see your item and revision number, right? Making sure we're all on the same page here. Okay, in this case, we're only on revision 1, but maybe it's revision 11. We can see our history as we've come through there. And there's some of that messaging and collaboration back and forth. You can do @ mentions for people, calling out certain people to jump into the conversation, maybe putting somebody to a task. And the ability, I think Amber and Jack and I have talked about this a couple times, but just seeing that audit log. Who touched it? When did they touch it? When did things happen? All right there, front and center for you. As we get into the implementation side of it, what does it take to implement this? We left time out of this, right? I think if you were to hold me to it, I'd tell you somewhere between 1 to 3 months is probably an end-to-end time frame you should be thinking about for total implementation of Siteline. And that's certainly not an implementer sitting next to Jack for 3 straight months to set this up, but it's very iterative, right? We're gonna have a lot of sessions focused on, hey, let's get a feature rolled out, let's trial and test it internally, let's come back and do a follow-up meeting and make sure we hit the mark or any adjustments that are there. I think you heard Jack talk about it a couple of times, or maybe it was Amber, but it often was a lot of back and forth between Amtech and American, right? We had to go back and forth with the IT folks, making sure everything was set up. So it's very iterative, right? But I think if you're in your head and saying, how quick can I get this going? You're looking at about a 1 to 3 month range and then to get it going out there. If you want to get detailed about what does configuration look like, we're going to find that admin. And, we were in the green room before we got on here and we were talking about, Jack's role in the organization and how he's taken on the Siteline project. You don't have to be a super IT person, right? You don't have to be a systems administrator to administer Siteline. Oftentimes you find a salesperson or a customer service rep is one of the best people to be able to administer. Certainly have to be a little tech savvy, but it doesn't take a lot to go from there. I think one of the things we focus in on a lot, at least recently, is around the business leaders review, right? Why did you purchase Siteline? What features are you looking to get advantage of, right? How can we take this and implement it in your business and really add value to the team? And if you're asking who's involved, it's certainly going to be the sales team, CSRs, and those pre-press people that are out there, artwork team. On the training side, a lot of our training is train the trainer. And what that really means is we're going to set up sessions and we're going to have you join those sessions as we come through. It's not really necessarily a one-on-one training. We do have a learning management system. So Amtech Academy was just launched. You can go in there and get Siteline certified, right? In different areas. Am I an admin? Am I a user? And then we will have kind of one-off sessions with those particular key individuals or key groups of individuals around a sales team, CSR, pre-press. And then ultimately, we'd like to trial with you getting a customer on board or working through what that process would look like. And I think this right-hand side is the most important part. You know, if we're thinking about services, obviously want to keep these projects as low cost as possible, but there's going to be a need for post-go live support, right? You should be building into your budget and your thought process that I'm going to sit with Siteline for a while. I'm going to integrate it into my business. People are going to start using it. Customers are going to start using it. And most of the time, you're going to generate a lot more questions. So we should build into the plan some post-go live services where we can come back and make sure that we're hitting all the dots. We're, you know, sharpening our tool set there as we come through. So before we get to the Q&A, I just want to take a brief minute and let's take a look at Siteline 5. So in the first tab that I'm in our live Siteline, I'm the sysadmin, so I'm Jack in this case. And the first thing I like to kind of call out is the dashboard. So in the dashboard, I can instantly see I've got 32 active customers utilizing Siteline. I have 40 active users. I have 2,255 custom job tickets processed through Siteline. And what I like is the ability to see how many of those were processed through impersonation, right? So 86% of all of my orders were processed via my customer service rep jumping into Siteline and impersonating our customer. And this is something I don't think we expected in the development process, but we're seeing a lot is that customer service reps prefer the ordering experience in Siteline over the order experience in LabelTrax natively. So we're finding that even the customer service reps who have been LabelTrax users for many years, once we get Siteline, we often see this number be very high, where we're not getting that kind of one order all the way through, but customer service is jumping in and impersonating because the Siteline experience is much easier. How many proofing customers do we have? How many proofs were created? And then the proof approvals with the average amount of days, also great data points. Hopefully we're trending this over time and we're seeing proof approvals go down as we begin to hold people accountable and leverage the tool that's out there. As we switch over and we take a look at maybe a customer experience, I've impersonated Mr. Al Smith here, and I'm looking at, again, all of my products. In this case, I have 104, and I have all of my products that are going down there. In a happy path, right, maybe I just am the customer and I want to come in and get 1,000 strawberry, add that over to the cart, and maybe I want 5,000 vanilla, 50,000, add that to the cart. I can see that my cart is updated with 2 items. Let's click over to it. I'm ready to check out. Here's where you can see that the process can be very streamlined. You're walking the customer through. They have the 2 items that they picked. We now can say, hey, this one is going to use existing artwork. We're going to rerun no change. We're going to rerun no change for both of them. You could update artwork, but that would take you down a different workflow where you'd have to update new artwork, send that through, get it approved. But we'll do it the easy path. You can see that my pricing is already built into there, so I get total pricing for all of that as we go through. I'm able to kind of walk and go to next. I understand my ship tos, right, because I'm attached to LabelTrax. So instantly I know where the shipping address is. I'm going to pick out my date. The only thing I would have to do here is talk about my method of delivery. I can add in an attention, maybe a contact. I can also add in an account number, but I can check my items, check total cost, make sure I'm okay with everything, and continue to move forward. And this is where the integration with Stripe can come into play. So this is something American Tape and Labels is looking to do now, is maybe go to the next step and bring in Stripe integration so that we can take a credit card, hold it on the site via Stripe, and be able to do it via credit card, let somebody pay us right away as it comes through, or you can just say invoice me, where you would have to apply in a PO number. If Stripe was integrated, we'd be able to go right through, final validation of our order, make sure anything is right, put in any notes or anything else we want to tell the business, and ultimately place the order. That's how easy it could be if we walk down the happy path if Siteline was fully installed. Let's take a step back and look at some of our orders here, our products. Let's take a look at our strawberry product. Give you an idea of some of what the customer can see inside of an individual item or product. So one thing that's pretty cool is right away I can see my order history. So I can see what have I ordered in the past, and I can see, I did order 50,000 and nobody screened. So instead of ordering, maybe 25,000 every other week, let me go ahead and order 50,000 because I can get a significant price discount. Some of the things we were talking about, just visually allowing the customer to see the price breaks, but then also see their ordering pattern at the item level could maybe generate some larger runs for you as customers are trying to take advantage of going after some of those price breaks that are over there. And then we'll take a quick look, we're running tight on time here, on the collaborate portion of it. I'll take a look at one of these products just to kind of let you see it. First and foremost, my favorite part is click here to approve, right? Don't give me an email that says approved or maybe or I'm not sure. I get a call to action button that is forcing somebody to click a button that we are going to track in the background in the audit trail saying that they approved it. And then you can see some examples here of being able to mention somebody and bring somebody else into the conversation. So plenty more. I can't leave our CFO Amber without pay invoices. And there's that pay now. Clicking on pay now is going to bring you over to Stripe and to be able to collect that money right up front. And this is showing all of their invoices that are sitting out there with the ones that are past due or pay now stage. All right. So we got a couple more minutes left. I'm going to throw the mic back over to Dave. And Dave, do we have any questions from the group here?
We do, Joe. Let me take a look and see what we got. We have a question from Mark. It says, can I control if a customer pays through the Siteline portal or through a purchase order?
Yeah, so that's what we were just demoing there at the tail end. And, you know, the American Tape and Label team were saying, hey, we're doing invoices right now or POs, but we're looking to implement Stripe. So that can be done at the customer level, and you can choose ABC customer, you know, gets it this way via Stripe and automatic payments and credit cards. And, you know, E customer gets it over here via POs and invoices.
Okay, awesome. I've got another question. Can I limit a customer to only rerun, no change orders?
Yes. So you get full control over what those drop downs look like. So if you're saying I only want a customer via this automated ordering process to not make any mistakes, you can limit them to just say these are repeat orders only.
Okay, awesome. And it looks like we just have one more. How long does it take to implement Siteline?
So we were talking about that highly variable. I don't know, maybe Amber or Jack, what do you think end to end was for your Siteline implementation?
Well, I think it actually was a little bit dependent on like where we were as a company. And it's going to be, I think the best answer I can give is it depends on how much time you put into it. If you do have somebody who's dedicated to it and can do these small little tasks, like go through each customer and allocate what they're going to do, then it's going to go a lot faster. But if you're going to be doing it just yourself and it's just you, I would just plan for a little bit longer, taking it customer by customer. So that's the best answer I can give. It is variable, but it's again how much time you can put into it.
Yeah, I've seen it be as quick as a couple of weeks. I think if realistically you're looking between that 1 to 3 month time frame, depending on the feature set that you're looking to get involved with.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, awesome. Well, I think that's all the time we have for today. So I'm going to wrap it up here. But I want to sincerely thank everyone for joining us. I'd like to sincerely thank Amber and Jack for being our guest speakers and sharing their insight about Siteline. We certainly hope that you all attending found this to be a valuable discussion. And if you have any additional questions or you want to learn more about Siteline, you can simply reach out to Joe. You can see his email address here at the bottom of the slide. You can also, if you want, you can email me as well. Don't worry if you can't write this down fast enough. Again, you'll receive a recording of this webinar tomorrow via email. But other than that, I'd like to say on behalf of Amtech and on behalf of American Tape and Label that we thank you for your participation. And again, if you need anything, just let us know. Other than that, have yourselves a great day.
Good luck, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.